The day we closed the Meridian account, my team stood in the hallway, pizza boxes in hand, eating while still fully engaged in our work. No one was willing to stop for a break. We were a team of 11 logistics coordinators, 2 analysts, and 1 operations manager, me, who had spent 8 long months destructuring our entire freight routing system for a mid-sized e-commerce fulfillment company just outside of Dallas. The results spoke for themselves. We had reduced delivery delays by 61%, renegotiated carrier contracts that saved the company $2.3 million annually, and simultaneously handled a 20% increase in order volume, a challenge no one had planned for but that we had successfully managed. That Friday afternoon, my inbox felt like a ticker tape parade: vendor confirmations, client emails with exclamation points, and a message from the VP of Operations in Chicago that simply read, "Whatever you're doing down there, keep doing it." I remember reading that email twice, the sense of pride swelling in my chest as I realized for the first time in years that I was exactly where I was supposed to be. But I should have known better than to feel that way, especially on a Friday. My name frankly doesn't matter for this story. What truly matters is that I had been with Carver Logistics for 11 years. I started as a junior coordinator, back when the company was small enough that Gerald Carver, the founder, used to walk the floor every morning with a cup of coffee, talking to people. Not performance reviews, not structured check-ins, just genuine conversations. He knew my daughter's name. He remembered that I coached Little League every spring. That company was worth protecting. 2 years before all of this, Gerald had semi-retired, still holding the chairman title and the majority of shares, but he handed the day-to-day operations to a new CEO. That part was fine. But when it came to the new CFO, Gerald's son Tanner, everything started to shift. Tanner, 31 years old with an MBA from a school that sounded more impressive than it was, had briefly worked in consulting in New York. He had 0 experience in logistics, freight operations, or supply chain management, nothing that related to our business. But he had something that I didn't: an office on the corner, a Porsche in the parking garage, and a father who handed him the CFO title like it was a bicycle. I met him for the first time in person 3 days after he'd arrived. I was at my desk, reviewing carrier rate sheets at 7:00 a.m. when he appeared in my doorway, scanning the room as if assessing property value. "Are you still doing this manually?" he asked, referring to the rate analysis. "I assumed you'd have automated this by now." Well, I had in fact built a semi-automated tracking system the previous year, reducing processing time by 40%. I explained this, but Tanner, clearly uninterested, nodded slowly and said something about AI-driven procurement optimization before walking away. I went back to my rate sheets, but I knew from that moment things were about to change. Over the next several months, Tanner did exactly what people like him do. He scheduled meetings that produced endless slide decks filled with business jargon, talking about synergizing our carrier ecosystem, reimagining our cost architecture, and watching the room carefully to see if anyone pushed back. When no one did, because people had mortgages, kids, and braces to worry about, he took the silence as agreement. Tanner reorganized 2 departments without consulting the department heads. He canceled a vendor partnership that had taken my team 14 months to negotiate, claiming the contract didn't align with our forward-looking margin profile. He replaced it with a new vendor that his college roommate happened to advise at a cost 18% higher and with a track record of late deliveries 30% of the time. I documented everything quietly, carefully. I had been around long enough to know that when things go sideways, they often come back around. The Meridian account was the culmination of everything we had built. We had restructured the routing logic, cross-trained our coordinators on 3 different regional carrier systems, and developed a contingency protocol that helped us survive a winter ice storm in February without a single missed delivery. It was real, meaningful work, the kind that doesn't make it into a quarterly slide deck but keeps the company running. Our performance metrics for the quarter were released on a Thursday afternoon in October. My team had exceeded every operational target, cost savings ahead of projection, client satisfaction at its highest in 6 years. There was an all-hands meeting that following Monday morning. I had told my team to expect good news. They came in with coffee, and that particular optimism that people carry when they've worked hard and reasonably expect recognition. Tanner was already at the front of the room, his jacket costing more than my first car. He loaded his slide deck onto the projector and began talking about the company's grand strategic vision, global expansion, infrastructure investment, recalibrating the incentive structure. Then he said it. Given our current reinvestment priorities, we've made the decision to redirect the Q3 performance bonus allocation toward infrastructure upgrades that will benefit everyone long-term. I know that's not what some of you were expecting, but we're raising the bar here. We need everyone focused on the future, not last quarter. The room went silent. Not the polite silence of people processing new information, but the kind of silence you feel when something important has been taken away. I looked at my team Marcus, who worked 60-hour weeks during the ice storm. Dana, who hadn't taken a single vacation day since March. 11 people who had given everything, only to be told by a 31-year-old in a designer jacket to forget about the past and focus on the future. Tanner looked directly at me. I know operations has had a strong quarter. We appreciate the effort. The best reward is the opportunity to keep growing. I didn't say a word in that meeting. Not one. Afterward, I asked Tanner if he had a few minutes. He said yes and gestured to a small conference room. I sat down and placed a single sheet of paper on the table between us. Tanner walked in, 6 minutes later, just enough time to show me how little he valued anyone else's time. Before we talk about anything else, I said, I need you to read Section 7, Paragraph 4 of my employment contract. He glanced at the paper without picking it up. I'm not really in the business of reviewing individual contracts, he said. You'll want to review this one. He picked it up, read it, and that was when I saw the expression, the one people make when they encounter something their confidence hasn't prepared them for. A kind of controlled stillness. He set the paper down and straightened it against the table with 2 fingers, his way of buying time. I told him my contract contained a performance incentive clause tied to verified cost savings exceeding $1.5 million in any fiscal year, entitling me to a bonus of 15% of the verified savings to be paid within 30 days. The verified savings for the year were $2.3 million, which meant my bonus was $345,000. I'd never triggered it before until now. Tanner stood up. He said he'd have legal review it. He wasn't in touch the next day or the day after. But on day 4, I sent a formal written notice to HR, citing the contract clause and the 30-day payment requirement. I CC'd the company's general counsel. Day 6, I got a call from Gerald Carver. I hadn't spoken to him directly in nearly a year. He was aware of the situation. I see, he said. And I want you to know, what your team did this year was the kind of work this company was built on. I'm sorry it wasn't recognized the way it should have been. Gerald had been watching from a distance. He had received a forwarded email from his assistant with a handwritten sticky note. This is good work. That, combined with my HR notice, gave him the documentation he needed to move Tanner out without a dramatic showdown. Tanner's responsibilities were restructured, and a co-CFO with actual financial experience was brought in. 4 months later, Tanner resigned to pursue other opportunities. The bonus clause was honored in full. The payment arrived on the 28th day, and my team received their bonuses 2 weeks later, directly from Gerald's office. The next time I saw Gerald, he offered me a VP title, with a scope 3 times the size of my current role. I turned it down, telling him, the work is better here. And that was the end of it. I returned to Dallas that evening and walked the length of the operations bay. Even though it was late, the work was still standing, still humming along. I turned off the lights and went home. Message toi. You said, Tip tuk. Message 4. ChatGPT said, Du roi thang mi maled. Message 5. You said, Tip tuk. Message 6. ChatGPT said, Du zoi thang ml. Message set. You said, Tip tuk. Message white. ChatGPT said, Du zoi thang mila.